Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as IvyWinter. Thank you for joining me for another Disney video. Today's video is going to be for the Disneyland vets who have never been to Disney World. If you're one of those people, this one is for you. Going from Disneyland to Disney World is a huge difference, and I know because I did it backwards. Being that I always grew up going to Disney World, I went to Disneyland for the first time 2 years ago. Because I know how big of a difference it is between the two parks, I want to get you prepared for your Disney World vacation and put the right ideas inside of your head of what to expect, because it is really different from Disneyland. There's some things that are similar, which are also important to note, but for the most part, it's a pretty different experience. One, there are some rides that are exactly the same. These are good to note because you might want to skip them to save yourself some time, unless they're like your favorites, which is totally cool. Currently, a few of the rides that are exactly the same are things like the Teacups, Winnie the Pooh, Toy Story Midway Mania, rides like Dumbo, and a couple of the other Fantasyland dark rides. So there are some things that overlap, and so you might not care to do them because you've done them so much back in Disneyland. That said, we have very different versions of a lot of stuff that you have. So our Space Mountain is totally different and also often a point of contention with who thinks which one is better. I'm personally a Disney World fan. Things like Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Big Thunder Mountain, Splash Mountain are all a bit different as well. For example, Haunted Mansion in Disney World has different scenes than the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. Splash Mountain has a very different take on the same sorts of music. And Pirates, well, I'll give you guys Pirates. Yours is way better. Plus you have 2 drops. We only have 1. So make sure you do your research in the rides that are the same and the rides that are different to make sure that you see everything that you want to see. Number 2 is Disney World is huge. When I went to Disneyland, I was so shocked by how close the parks were to each other and everything in general. I stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, and you just walk out, you walk through downtown Disney area, and then boom, here's the 2 parks, and you can literally just go left or right and enter the parks. Disney World is not like that at all. It is huge. There's a reason why we have this huge transportation system that you hear about, right? So you've got the 4 parks, and you've got 2 mini golf courses, 2 water parks, you've got Disney Springs, you've got the boardwalk, and they're all not within walking distance of each other. To be fair, you can walk from Hollywood Studios to Epcot, but even then that is still a 20 to 25 minute walk depending on your pace. So this is not Disneyland. You cannot just say I'm gonna just walk around easily from point A to point B. Keeping that in mind, that also means that getting from point A to point B is going to take you so much longer. It's really different when you walk out of Disneyland and say, okay, I'm gonna go to downtown Disney and grab dinner, because you can literally do that in 5 minutes. Whereas at Disney World, you might leave the Magic Kingdom and now you have to get on a bus, you have to wait for a bus, which could take up to 20 minutes depending on what time it is, and then you have to drive from Magic Kingdom to Disney Springs, which could be another 15 minutes. So you're generally trying to give yourself anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes to get to your next location. That is something that you definitely need to keep in mind. It is not going to be as easy to get around as it is in Disneyland. It's just huge. If waiting for transportation is not your thing, remember there are apps like Uber and Lyft, and I really recommend that if waiting for a bus is taking a little too long, or if you just need another way to get around. Number 3, we have a very different vibe in Disney World than Disneyland. It's not to say it's any worse or anything like that, but it's just not the same sort of community-driven park. And that's just because of where it's located. If you look at Disneyland, it is located in the heart of a city in California. A lot of locals go. There are a lot of local annual pass holders, and you guys go like every weekend, according to all of the tweets that I see from my friends there. But in Disney World, you've got more of a mix of tourists than locals, and that's not to say that there aren't locals. There's locals who watch my channel here right now. But there are far more tourists who are going maybe for their once-in-a-lifetime trip, where they've only come once every few years, and you're gonna see a lot more people not only from different states, but from different countries. Because Disney World is closer to South America and the UK, so you're gonna see more people from those areas. and people who are just coming for that one big trip, as opposed to what I see as more of a close-knit local community in Disneyland. Like I said, that doesn't mean that the vibe at Disney World is like any worse or anything. It's just very different, and you're probably gonna notice that. Number 4, magic bands. There's such a huge difference for you guys, and the fact that you guys still have paper fast passes just blows my mind, but also like harkens me back to the days of like old nostalgia. But magic bands are so cool. Get excited to get them because they're great, but they're also dangerous. They're dangerous because you put your credit card on them and then you just go on a spending spree, and then you come back from your vacation, you look at your credit card bill and you're like, crap, how did I drop that much money on that? So they're really great. Get used to them, wear them all the time, have them on you all the time. So important because they open up your room, they get you into the park there for spending on merchandise and for buying at the restaurants. And while yes, for those things you could have a credit card and not need them, you need your magic bands to get into your room and to get into the parks. And if you don't have them, then it becomes a whole thing. You gotta go to guest services and you don't want to deal with all of that. So hold on to your magic bands and get used to the idea of this like RFID experience. It's really cool if you've never experienced it before. And they incorporate the information to really cool ways during some of the rides, so you're gonna have a blast with that. Number 5, and this is something that I say to all newcomers in Disney World, but I'm also gonna say it to you as Disneyland vets because I'm sure that you go for a couple of days and feel like you get everything done. You are probably not going to get everything done in Disney World. Actually, I'm almost 100% sure you won't unless you're staying down there for like 3 weeks. Then maybe we can argue that you're gonna hit all the things. It's just so hard to be able to do everything because when you're competing with crowds, it's very busy there now all year round. 2, it's just so big. There's just so many attractions and so many restaurants and so many things to do at night after the parks. And half the time when I say I'm gonna go mini golfing, I haven't gone mini golfing there since I was like 16, and I keep saying I'm gonna do it every time I go down there, and it just doesn't happen. And I go a lot. So you are definitely gonna have things that are on your list that you might not have time to do, and it's totally okay. Don't burn yourself out and don't get upset if you can't do everything there. But definitely prioritize what you think is most important. What are the things that you really want to have time for, whether that's a spa day, or it's shopping in Disney Springs, or it's just riding certain rides and making sure that you get on those and prioritize them over other rides. Have that kind of list of like, these are really important and these are the other things that like, if I get to do them, that's awesome. And if I don't, I'm not going to feel like I wasted time and money. So those are my 5 things for Disneyland vets coming to Disney World for the first time, or maybe for the first time in a few years. I really hope you have an awesome time. I would love to hear about it. And if there are Disneyland vets who have already been there who are watching this right now, I would love to know in the comments below what were the biggest shockers or differences for you coming from California to Florida. I know for me, I just felt like everything in Disneyland was so tiny, but I don't mean that in a bad way. That wasn't me saying like, oh gosh, their castle's so tiny. Ugh, this is not Cinderella Castle. I thought it was adorable. I loved the closeness of everything. I just sort of love the atmosphere of that, as weird as that sounds. So when I say Disneyland is tiny, I'm not insulting it. I actually really like it. But I would love to know if there was something that when you came to Disney World was just like super different to you and kind of blew you away, or you just didn't expect. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, then like it. If you like me, you should subscribe because I'm making Disney videos every single week. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope this helped you planning your trip, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye.